Evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. It's 5:31 p.m. and we are going to start with the pledge if you'll join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, let's start with roll call, please, Randy.
Okay, Trustee Winslow's absent, excused this evening. Trustee Kidda.
Here.
Trustee Leighton.
Here.
Trustee Everson.
Here.
Treasurer Rickauer.
Here.
And Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Excuse me, here.
Staff present is Manager Kangas, our Attorney Roger Zappa, our Fire Chief Dan Shanahan, our Finance Director Kim Clark. On Zoom, we have Planning Zoning Administrator Jason McCarthy, our Assessor Dulcie Atherton, and our Superintendent of Public Works Leonard Bodinas.
Good, thanks for all that, Randy. Any public comment before we get started tonight? Sure, come on up, Fred.
Good evening. I'm your current representative on the county commission, and we had quite a long meeting last night regarding a resolution to look at reopening Sawyer to the Air Force. And there must have been, I think there were over 22 people online. In attendance, there must have been close to 50. An enormous amount of people spoke. A lot of people were fearful that they would lose their homes out at Sawyer, or that it may become a detention center for ICE. Lots of fear. There were several people who spoke in favor of it because they were contractors, and they know the economic development that would probably come with it. The original resolution authorized representatives of the county to enter into discussion to recommission in whole or in part Sawyer as the United States National Defense Air Base. A lot of people were uncomfortable. We were caught between trying to not violate an Open Meetings Act. We're constantly being accused of that, and saying, hey, this is a starting point. People were upset. They didn't know where this came from. Well, there were commissioners that hadn't seen this resolution before the meeting. But it was softened to state that it would authorize county employees to obtain information about the possible reuse. Sawyer had 10,500 feet of runway. The whole west side of the alert center would be an ideal place for more military presence. There's been an ever-increasing military presence every year through exercises and whatnot. And I remember when the military pulled out in '95, how devastated we were. You look back in the day, when school district can't pass a millage to fix a leaky roof, but they built all of those schools. And the people who are on base paying for high water and sewer rates would probably see enormous benefit. They were worried about losing their housing. I can tell you, but I can't say for sure that the military's not going to put anybody out of a home. They're going to build new housing if they come in. So there's been an overwhelming positive response on social media to this. So I wanted to make you aware of it because I think given our need for economic development, if the military were to come back in a stronger sense, I think it would be a positive thing. We have to address the concerns of those that are fearful of becoming a target of losing their homes. The other thing I would say is recently, things are looking good, I believe, for Marquette County. We just received notice from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development of a $750,000 grant I know you're talking about the Alice report, right, tonight? The project description is short-term emergency recuperative care shelter and long-term housing initiative. So we don't know where that money's gonna go, but that's $750,000 to spend on housing. Program was sponsored by Senator Slotkin. The other thing we received at the county was a $250,000 grant from, I think it's the US EPA, yeah, to upgrade the wastewater treatment facility at Sawyer. Some of you who work in emergency response would know Sawyer's had chlorine gas back when I was still working 15 years ago. Chlorine gas is a nightmare. It's cheap and effective for wastewater treatment, but then you have to remove the chlorine. I think it's sulfur dioxide. But anyway, they're going to remove those tanks and install ultraviolet treatment process, which is going to make it much, much safer for the community. You know, every time you deal with a chlorine gas tank, somebody's got to manually handle it, put it in, falls over, breaks off, you've got a nightmare. John knows that. John would know that where he worked. Beyond that, I guess I would say don't believe everything you're seeing on social media. There's quite an uproar over what turned out to be nothing regarding a data center in West Branch Township. There's a lot of phobia out there. And, you know, I'm here to try and develop economic development, provide for the homeless. We need housing. And I think one of the ways we're going to do that is we're going to have to engage planning and zoning and probably amend some of our zoning so we can have more multi-use duplex, triplex density housing. There's also a move to try and support additional services through Marquette. Marquette has a village, but they would like to try and find ways to expand service, and I'm not really sure how that's going to work or where we're going to do that. There's a new director over there, I think he's doing a great job. I don't know if you know him, but he's trying real hard, and he's got door-to-door service. I think we're the only one at UP that provides scheduled service in UP. So I'm here available. I know you want to try and get emergency response ambulance service, right, 24/7. There's a way I can help you do that. Let me know. And thank you for your time.
He's right in the corner.
I got a question.
Sure.
Yes.
Brent, I just had one question. Who introduced that language for Sawyer? How did that come about?
Well, I think the way that came about is that I'm not exactly sure, but Chairperson DeRocha has been involved in talking with the military and several people. I mean, what's happened last year is they had an extensive exercise. They love us. They had Chinook helicopters out there. The other day they brought in an Airbus 320 and took 18,000 gallons of jet fuel and brought out 161 military personnel. And I just said, how'd they pay for that? With a credit card, right? Oh no, the military doesn't pay with a credit card, but I mean, that's significant revenue coming in. And we've got a lot of needs out there at Sawyer. You know, there's a lot of poor infrastructure. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes or push because we've got to address their concerns, but I can almost guarantee you if the military comes in, the economic development and what will happen to go in Marquette County and the Upper Peninsula will be impacted positively. You know, some of you remember when the base was open. Contractors, restaurants, motels, everything. It just spins off. So I'm a proponent, but we gotta go slow and we gotta make sure people feel comfortable with this. You know, that's basically how it started, though, is it was an expansion. They love it. They come here with their Chinook and their exercises, jumping out of C-130s or whatever, and they say, God, you got the runway. There's no air traffic up here. we'd like to have a greater presence. And they're starting to exercise right now out of the old alert pad, which is on the southwest side. First of all, if any of you know the airport, you can't get to the west side without permission from the tower. You gotta be cleared over there. You can't just drive over there. You can't even get an airplane over there. But if in fact this fleshed out to what it could be, the military could possibly take over the whole west side. I'm just speculating. But the whole west side of the airport, it would be a dual-use airport. And they do it all over the country. I mean, they do it in Duluth. They have a presence in Alpena. And it goes much, much broader, wider throughout the United States. But there are people who feel we'd be a target. You know, it's a very, I think it's a very nationally strategic defense location, especially with the Sioux logs there. I mean, the Sioux always has been on, you know, the terrorist prevention watch. So that's the best I can do, Dan.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Fred. Appreciate you coming. Any other comments before we get started? We do have one email that Randy received today. It's from Lori Paquette. It says, "Hi Randy, this is Lori Paquette. I'm writing on behalf of the fence covering on the pickleball tennis court. I hear they are going to be blocking my side of the fence," with the question mark. "If this is true, I do not want it being blocked. My daughter and I enjoy watching them play, so please do not put it up." So Randy emailed her back and said that we would read that, which we do anytime we get emails or letters, for the record. Okay, so Lori. Anybody else wish to address us? Okay, then we need approval of the consent agenda, which tonight consists of approval of regular meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2026. We have bills payable in the amount of $240,862.95. The May 2026 Sheriff's Office Activity Report. And then I included the UPCO case U22032 and the abbreviated board packet from 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'll talk about that in a minute. And the Board of Trustees Peter White Public Library regular board meeting minutes of June 9th, 2026. Financial statements and a budget amendment which will require a roll call vote.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
No, hold on.
Oh yeah, duh.
Hold on.
I just said that.
Let me
Thank
get
you.
to that resolution.
Habit.
Yeah, let me get there. That's all financial stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so the budget amendment tonight is 2026-01, and the highlight of that is authorization to request to increase the wastewater water funded administration. Expenditures increased are due to the new census software and water supply contract, and you can see the changes on that, on the budget amendment. And roll call vote will be Trustee Everson,
Yes.
Trustee Kidda,
Yes.
Trustee Leighton,
Yes.
Treasurer Rickower,
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0 and 1 absent.
Okay, thanks for that. And we just need approval of the remainder of the agenda, unless there's any changes.
Oh, I want to make a change. Is
Okay.
Dulcie here for, she doing a report?
No, she's doing the contract.
8B.
8B,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, that's good. I will add under 8D, Manager's Performance Evaluation Compilation for 2026.
Okay.
Lynn,
Yes, sir.
our clerk retired.
Yes,
We do have a fresh contract from the fire truck supplier that we should probably, Chief, have you heard anything back from him on the proposed revisions?
No, they did say they'd get back to me in half an hour when I spoke to you around 4 o'clock, and when I left at 5:15, I had not heard back, so. And I did say it could be 2 weeks also.
Well, I think we should add this because we've been waiting for a way to pay for something that we agreed to pay up front to save an additional 100,000 plus. The agreement has been reviewed by the attorney. He's recommended some changes, and I would suggest that we add it as 8E, and you approve it subject to the vendor's approval of the language changes.
So at least we're seeing it and talking about
Yep.
it.
The cost has not changed. It's just the official purchase agreement. And I believe the subsequential writing of a 7-figure check, or however we pay that.
Yeah, I'll add that also then. So I'll add 8D as the manager's evaluation compilation and 8E as the fire truck contract.
And that's for the ladder truck that was previously approved.
Yeah.
Or
Okay. Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Oops.
And I guess I'll comment, the only reason I'm adding the manager's evaluation is because it's just basically an informational item. The board will see it, but it's not really an action item for us other than looking at it. In the and as Supervisor Durant had said in the past, we don't like to add emergency stuff unless it's emergency, but we've already approved the fire truck purchase, so it's really just a formality at this point.
It's the associated agreement that commits us to paying it.
Yeah, because I don't like to add anything unless it's absolutely, we have to do it, so.
Right. We rarely do that anyway. Okay. Did we vote?
Yes, we did.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I make sure. Okay. We don't have a library report, correct?
Nope.
Okay. I did talk to the library director and asked her about our appointment, and she said she had been to the TAC meetings, but I haven't heard from her, so.
The other thing on the library is the ballot language will be on July 1 agenda.
Okay. Future agenda.
It'll be the resolution and the ballot language that goes to November.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna make a note to call Grace. All right, fire department then.
Good evening. We did just receive that proposal yesterday, I believe, from, it's like manager had stated, it is basically signing what we'd already approved, I believe, and then the Attorney Zappa did reply with those 2 minor changes, which I think we had to change, don't quote me, attorney might know better, I think we had to change that last time. They're not selling the fire truck to the fire department, they're selling it to the township board. That was I believe the only change, and then the other change was that I had read it also and agree that, nothing has changed that we agreed to, that we've all previously agreed to. And I did tell them if they didn't get back to me, and I didn't even say it could happen tonight since it was so quick. So if somebody said, let's put the brakes on this, I did tell them it'd be 2 weeks, and they didn't get back with me. But I did speak with them, and they thought it was gonna be okay, but their legal might have had to look at it too, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that, I'll just briefly go over a few things. I mean, our training last month, we're getting more and more over the years, with the mutual aid and the auto aid with Marquette City and Chocolate. We had a couple guys from City Fire and Chocolate come over and explain to us how they do their RIC. We're not a part of that team, but we are a backup for both municipalities, so it's good to get a little bit of training with them. This month, we'll be going back out to we were out there last summer, and we've been fortunate. That house at the Upco Dam in Forestville, we'll be there again this summer, and we plan on going out there next Monday, which has been a nice to have. We don't get houses I guess I hate to say it, but destroy, cut up, do bailouts, those types of things. Meetings pretty much generally the same, pretty much the last couple of months. Obviously, we've been meeting with the Westwood Mall a little bit and the county building officials about that property, which we've been doing too, and I know Jason probably highlighted on it later. We have been meeting with planning, zoning, and the property maintenance a little more frequently, and I think that's been very productive for us and them, ironing out a few things that we might have missed over the years. And I know Eric and I know Lauren from our department, I know at some point it's gonna come to the manager's attention, if it hasn't already, BSNA, expanding it a little bit in the future. It seems like it's a very good program for us and for them. I don't know the cost, and that was my first question. I know. And Kim, I think, was on a day or two training there also, previous to us going. And so we've had a meeting with Kim about this previously too. And I think she likes it too, you know, but I got a feeling that'll be coming to your attention, the manager's attention, sooner than later. Grants and donations, we were denied by DOMAC for at some point we are gonna get an e-bike. And they're not that expensive anymore, but when we were out on the trails, hiking and stuff, an e-bike's the only way to go. When you're hauling all that stuff, by the time we get there, we're tired. So we're not, we got a lot of young guys too, but we do believe an e-bike for our terrain and where we go would be very beneficial. Lake Superior Foundation, we were awarded a couple cop batteries, and those aren't cheap either. They're, can't probably tell you exactly, and I should know. I'm gonna say $1,200 a piece or something like that for a battery for our e-cots. And the AFG grant was finishing up tonight, I believe Mike was. And we've got everything all set there for what we're looking for. And fire calls, they were down quite a bit last month. I hate to even report that. Our numbers are up for the year, considering how low we were. I think that was our lowest month that we've had in quite a few years, which is a good thing. But overall for the year, we're up quite a bit. We've been busy with interviews for our EMS, EMTs, and orientation, which is a good thing. We will be hosting an open house July 20th from 5 to 7 p.m. We will have some type of food. The grill will be going. And we have a work bee planned before that open house. And I guess that's really all I have, unless anybody has any questions on anything. Obviously, the members number, it's already changed, and it's changing all the time. And hopefully increasing with more, just EMTs. Other people will be hiring their EMS people part-time. And that's going fairly well, but it's kept us busy. Orientation, everything takes time, you know. They're new. A lot of them are very, very new. So they need a little bit orientating than some of the other people that have been around a little while. So, and we do have some experienced ones too that have applied and have been hired, which is a good thing.
Do you have a rough idea how many you're gonna need? I suppose it depends on the shifts, right?
It does. I mean, I wish I could say, so I'm gonna say we've hired 7.
Oh, great.
None of them, this is all recent, within the past 2 weeks. A couple of them have been through orientation just recently. And when I say a couple, I mean 3. The schedule is just getting out for them. There are shifts available, evenings and nights, weekends we've had no problems with. But those people, it wasn't conducive for their schedules. So we're getting there. It'll probably be another couple of weeks before we're semi up and running. We have a couple more interviews. So we're gonna be looking at around 10, 11 people we'll be hiring
Okay.
for these part-time shifts. And I think that'll be as an ongoing, as people get their license and those types of things.
So you're a little more flexible with the shifts. In other words, you're not looking for somebody just to do all nights or all
No, no.
weekends or whatever.
Correct.
Just for anybody that's listening to
Yeah.
this. So
Oh, definitely.
you have, you know, if somebody's working 4 10s and they have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday
Right.
off, maybe they want to pick up a Monday, they could
Right.
do 8 hours or
Yeah.
24 or whatever, you know.
We
They
have
want to
a
go on a
trial.
vacation, they need extra money.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
So
Very
we're
true.
we're really flexible
Very
with the
flexible.
schedule.
Very flexible, yep.
Okay.
Yep. Currently, we have them in 8-hour blocks, but we try and stress during orientation, they can be 12, they could be 4, we don't like to go 4, but it could be, 4, could be 12, 8, 24.
Because you've got places to sleep and a kitchen
yeah.
and showers and
Right,
everything.
everything's there,
So
Yep.
you're all set.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's going pretty well. Open house, we're planning on I hate to say, but we're hoping also to have the helicopter there. The EMS helicopter will be there, and that's pretty cool. Be landing-
Dan, can you repeat the open house day and time?
Yeah, open house, July 20th, from 5 to 7.
That's a Thursday, isn't
It's a
it?
that is
July 20th.
we
Monday.
changed a couple times back and forth.
Monday. Monday,
Yeah,
okay.
that's funny you said Thursday, because it was in one of our
Yeah, that's what I
summaries
thought you
notes,
said,
that-
yeah.
And that's why.
Monday,
yep.
7:20.
And I had to verify, because we were talking 2 different days, and then that Monday worked the best. But that following Thursday was also brought up, but.
So that's family night. I mean, kids
Yeah, everybody,
come out and look at the
definitely.
equipment.
Everybody- yeah, we're gonna
The
shut
trucks will be
equipment out, trucks,
open and,
Yep, yeah, oh, definitely.
okay.
And then, obviously, we're asking the MSP to come with their K-9. No, there's a lot of neat stuff,
Yeah,
you know.
get to see all the
Especially if you've never been through the
equipment.
fire and seen some of the equipment that we use and how we use it, there'll be demonstrations.
Will there be any literature to share at this open house
Oh,
regarding the
yeah,
millage?
Definitely, yep. And we are hoping to get something on the next mailing, water department
The
mailing. I guess it
utility
is.
bills, yeah.
Yes,
Back of the
yep,
calendar?
Back of the calendar.
Great.
Yeah, for the EMS and for the open house, just brief.
Factual.
Oh, you definitely, yeah, you've stressed that, and I get it, yep. No, you definitely have stressed that.
Any other questions for Dan?
Doug, can you stick around?
I don't think you need to. You've already acknowledged that the fire department won't be buying this $2 million plus ladder truck. It will be the
Oh, yeah,
township board.
I don't like hearing that number either. Believe me.
That's really the language in dispute at this point. And then you're acknowledging that the specs for the truck haven't changed.
No,
So those are the changes in the agreement that will be considered under 8E. But I think between the attorney and I, we can probably handle that conversation. In fact,
Okay.
he'll probably do most of the
right,
talking,
right, yeah.
hopefully.
Yeah, we had to get, we've been bothering Roger, Attorney Zappa also this week a little bit on some, I guess, inspection, fire-related stuff. And he's going back years and years and years. He goes, ooh, this rings a bell, we may have touched on this before, so.
And since that's gonna be our fire truck, can we use it at will?
Yeah, no, I know. I guess that would be the supervisor's position
Yeah.
first.
Asking for a friend.
Right.
I'm saying, yeah, asking for it, I appreciate that. And good luck finding the keys. We keep those hidden. No.
All right, sir.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks.
Nice try, Dan. Okay, Public Works. Lenny.
Hello, everyone. We'll start with water. So we replaced a fire hydrant on the 2100 block of Waldo. It was an older Traverse City style fire hydrant. They were having a real hard time shutting it off. Those type of fire hydrants, you actually have to crank on them to get them shut, and sometimes they just wear out and they'll leak, and it's not even worth repairing them. So we installed a new East Jordan hydrant in its place, so hopefully that one will be good for another 40 or 50 years as well. We also had a corp leak on Ontario, so we were called for leak water coming on the ground. We determined it was a corp. In that particular area, it's very deep, and it was right next to the road, so we actually had to have a contractor come in and help us get that.
Lenny,
yeah.
Can you explain to the board what a corp is, please?
Sure. A corp is basically the valve that's attached right to the fire hydrant. So it's a valve the water main. It's a valve attached right to the water main, and then from there we connect our service line, and that goes to the curb stop, which is located in people's yards. So essentially, we have two valves. We have one right off the main, and we have one right at the property line or the right-of-way line there. So sometimes they leak right there, and when that happens, depending where they're at, we might have to call somebody in to give us a hand. That particular one was very deep. We will have to revisit that because they only paved the small section of the road that got tore up, so we're going to have to go all the way to the center line with that one. So we'll have to revisit that. We also had a regular water main valve that we've been having problems with over the last few years. That was on Summit Street. This valve was kind of one of those key valves that we have in our system. Without that valve, we end up shutting off a lot of our systems. So I forgot how many houses they had to tag or they shut down, but it was dozens, I think. So that's kind of why we had to get that one fixed. So if we have any problems, we try to have our valves. The valves are usually when they're installed in increments where it's manageable. So if you have to shut something down, you're not shutting down half the town or half the grid. Without this one particular valve was real key, we had to get that fixed. So we took an opportunity. That was another one that was in an area that was wet. That was a little bit out of our capability, so we did have a contractor help us on that one. Fortunately, they had some downtime and they were able to get somebody there to help us do it. So it kind of worked out really good. On the wastewater side, the number 2 pump at the Huron Street lift station experienced a failure. When they got down there, they knew something was wrong. When they pulled everything apart, they found that the impeller was laying in the bottom of the pump, which is usually not a good sign. Basically what happened was the bolt that holds the impeller on sheared off. We don't know if a rock or something hard came through there and hit it and broke it off. Luckily, we try to always have a spare pump for everything that we have. So they were able to put a new impeller on our spare pump and get that installed. They were able to get that up running pretty quickly. The pump that did fail with the impeller that broke off, it's probably the shaft is probably not very good shape in the bearings. So we actually do have that at a repair shop right now and try to get that repaired. And once that comes back, then we'll put that on the shelf. So we'll always have a spare pump to back up to put in there. So that's real important. We kind of had some pump gremlins. So we had a number 1 pump at the Bancroft Street lift station also failed. So they went there and they pulled everything apart, and we had found flushable wipes all wound up into the impeller. They're not really flushable, but people think they are, along with a bunch of other stuff. So they were able to get that clog cleaned out, and they were able to get that pump up running pretty fast. So that's just another reason that we try to tell people don't flush things down in the toilet, because they do end up somewhere. I mean, flush things that are supposed to go in the toilet, flush those down there, but other things like flushable wipes, rags, strings, anything like that's usually really bad for our pumps, because they do end up somewhere and they'll bind up in the pumps, and it makes it a nightmare to clean them out. We also had another problem at our Center Street lift station. Occasionally we get some high temperature alarms when the sun beats on the station. We tried a real high-tech solution, which is a piece of OSB painted white, kind of to shade the sun off of it. That works, but it looks pretty ugly. So they were trying to come up with some different ways of adding some more ventilation fans in there. So they did get some new fans that they put them in there, and I believe they also did that at the US 41 lift station too, because sometimes we get high high temperature issues there as well. So far, hasn't been really hot out. We'll have to wait till everything warms up again to see if that solution works, keep the air moving through there. Also, Eagle has approved the Heritage Trails sanitary sewer permit, so that one is all set to go. Just got word today that the water system plans are still being reviewed. They need some new information or updated information on that. So hopefully, I did send them some information, and we're hoping that the consultant also sends them some calculations and they can get that finished quickly. On the building and ground side, we did get a call on a safety issue on the playground equipment at Kitty Park. It was something that was manufactured or installed like that. It was basically a piece of pipe was sticking up. But we kind of looked at it, and our building and grounds crew came up with a little bit better solution to make it a little bit more safe. So it basically came down to installing a PVC cap and a pipe on top of it to make it high, where nobody could really fall on it and hurt themselves. So that seems to be working pretty good. We're also doing a lot of landscaping improvements at the Township Hall and other township facilities. Our staff has been out trying to clean out the plant beds and the bush beds. We took some dead ones out, put some new ones in, put some new rock in, and of course we're ongoing trying to upkeep on the grass, fertilization, mowing, all that kind of good stuff. So we also did plant some new trees. So if you see around the office, we planted some new pines and some other new trees, basically just kind of replacing what either died or that we had to take out when we did some of our projects around the hall. So that's basically all I have for this month.
Oh, that's a lot. Any questions for Lenny? Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, planning. Jason, we have
Good
your
evening.
report. Thanks for joining us, too.
Absolutely. So a little bit of a long list as we are in full swing of our construction season. So I'll briefly go through the list that's likely been provided for you by Clerk Rattari. As you know, the master plan update's been complete. We are preparing to print and distribute copies for the Planning Commission, Township Board. Have one official copy at the Township Hall, and then we'll also have well, I say that because the full document's a very thick document, but we're able to print copies that will be the shorter version, just the plan and not the appendices or the appendix in total, and have that be referenced in the document. So we can put a QR code basically on the front of the document, and that can link with your phone to the rest of it, or just link it by reference. So with the master plan complete, we'll now turn our attention to working on the implementation of the document. That includes zoning ordinance updates and any future capital improvement planning. The Recreation Committee met last night, and we commenced on an update of the recreation plan. And as you may know, that maintains our eligibility for Michigan Department of Natural Resources Trust Fund and other grant programs. So that'll be a lengthy process, probably 6 months or so. We hope to get that on the books with the DNR and approved before February 1 of 2027. So yeah, we'll be using the most recent community survey and a lot of the input that was generated for the master plan update. As you know, the master plan update is a land use document, but there was a lot of recreational references in there, as I've been stressing to you guys for the last several years. There's some projects in our current recreation plan that have not been constructed or implemented, so we'll be working with the rec committee to decide on whether to keep the ones that haven't been completed or insert some new ones as well. Planning Commission met last Wednesday on the 10th, and we started working through the zoning ordinance, article by article revisions. So some of the stuff that Mr. Benzie was talking about, we will be leading the charge with the Planning Commission to implement some of those goals and objectives in the document to accommodate and facilitate more affordable housing. So stay tuned on that. Obviously, the township board will have the final say on what we propose. But the planning commission, we kicked it off by already updating Article 2 in the ordinance, which is definitions. There's a lot of new definitions, as you can imagine, and then refining some of the other ones and cleaning up some of the redundancy. Let's see, Westwood Mall, as the chief mentioned, Fire Inspector Zybert, zoning technician Kyle Hewson, and Eric Powers and I attended a meeting with a structural engineer and a proposed buyer of the Westwood Mall to review some of the damage that was caused and get a look at the infrastructure of the building to see what's salvageable and what's not. So those are all positive things, and we look forward to updating you on some of those items when we can. Hematite Properties mini storage proposal. So that's over along US 41 on the west end of the township, and on the south side of the highway. So they're proposing to put in some mini storage units, which are a hot item right now. And we have a public hearing for the special use permit. And then if the special use permit's approved, a site plan review directly after that next Wednesday on the 24th at 6 p.m. So we'll continue to review comments and ordinance standards prior to the meeting. The Team Car Wash, or Team Verizon, the group out of Escanaba that's building the car wash, they have submitted a revised stormwater plan and calculations to address a couple of issues that were discovered there. And in addition to that, the related Ryan's Alley 30-foot right-of-way abandonment remains pending through the circuit court. Let's see, the Loads of Fun conversion from a car wash to a laundromat is effectively complete, except for some final touches and some parking expansion. But we're continuing to coordinate with the fire department because there are some architectural plans that were received and reviewed, or are being reviewed by the fire department. Heritage Trails PUD, I've gotten a couple questions on why that's, basically paused or not active right now, and that is because we're waiting for a recorded master deed before issuing zoning compliance permits for the proposed homes and dwelling units on the property. Master deed is necessary to establish the parcel and unit configuration and to confirm that subsequent permitting is consistent with recorded PUD documents and our approvals. The VA home, I always keep this on the list just because it's an exciting project and it's a big project, but that remains ongoing and we'll continue to monitor that. Mount Manufacturing continued to do their work on rehabbing the building on US 41 at the Westerly Roundabout. They have put up some new signage, which looks great, and we'll continue to monitor their site improvements so that they're consistent with our ordinance. You probably have noticed the Culver's improvements are finished, and we've requested as-built drawings for those improvements there. Renthal has successfully relocated in the township adjacent to the H&R Block. I'm sure you've seen the new signage and their storefront there. And the acoustic panels have been installed at the pickleball courts. I'm not sure if that was mentioned earlier, but that follows prior efforts to mitigate neighborhood noise concerns and reflects continued township responsiveness to operational impacts associated with outdoor recreational facilities. Property maintenance and blight enforcement activity is in full swing. Our newly hired zoning technician, Kyle Hewson, has been doing a great job and has shown a lot of initiative and some innovation in the way that's being conducted. So he will continue to administer complaints, conduct site inspections, send letters out, and notices when appropriate. Most importantly, he's working well with property owners who are, ultimately we're just trying to gain compliance. We're not trying to harass anybody. And it's great to have him on board and to have some consistency on that sector of what we do. So that's pretty much it. But in addition, obviously we have a busy office and lots of responses to general inquiries about zoning and planning and land use and heightened bulk requirements and all the good things that come along with summer. So there's a smorgasbord of activity going on, and the office is busy, and we're having fun trying to make sure everybody's getting their projects done and get on their way.
Wow, that's a mouthful, hey?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean, it's this time of year. It's the fun time of year. We spend a lot of time during the winter working on more long-range things, and now we have to focus on getting the construction season filled up and getting everybody's projects on the books. So, yeah, I think we're doing a good job and providing good customer service.
I was running my dog before coming to the meeting, and a gentleman was working across the street, and he came over and said, "Are you Lynn?" And I said, "Yep." He said, "I want to tell you what a great job your planning department's doing. Jason's just the guy to work with, and he did a good job." He didn't say what the project was, but he went out of his way to tell me, so I thought I'd better go out of my way and tell you.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I have a strong staff right now. Eric's really doing well and has assimilated into some of the planning commission staffing roles. And Kyle, I think we're lucky to have him. His background really lends itself well to what he's doing and just being involved in the office in general. And he's very inquisitive and asking the right questions. And Eric's doing a good job of kind of coaching him along too. So it's going to allow me to work on, the long-range planning documents, some of the capital stuff, assisting other department heads with things that they need. As the chief said, we've been meeting regularly with the fire department to try to hammer out a better administrative flow with documentation and things that they need and making sure we get it all done. I'm really excited about the zoning ordinance. I don't think people understand how positively the zoning ordinance can affect housing affordability. So, we're considering recommending that eliminating the finished floor area of a dwelling completely. So right now we allow tiny homes, but that goes from 0 to 450 square feet. And then there's a gap because the ordinance says that the minimum first floor area of a dwelling unit should be 1,000 square feet. So just by doing that, or looking at increasing density, or allowing smaller lots where we have utilities, and working with Public Works to make sure that we can handle capacity, and allowing different housing types, I think you're going to see a positive effect. And it's been a long time coming. I did hear about the data center issues and things like that. I think we're a little bit too hilly around here for some of the major, the heavier hitters that might approach us, but we'll be proactive on that as well. And we'll continue to address and adopt ordinances that are relevant to our current conditions and future conditions where and when feasible.
Excellent.
And I appreciate the compliment, and that's nice. Thanks.
Yeah. Any questions for Jason? Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, have a good night, guys. Thanks.
You too. Oops. Okay. Attorney report.
Well, it's been a pretty busy month. A lot of my desk time has involved the Heritage Trails matter. We had at least three iterations from the Brownfield Authority of their agreement, the most recent one being this afternoon, that I've reviewed. And basically, from the township's perspective, there's not that much in that agreement that directly affects us. But the key element that we wanted to have included is now included, and that is that from the captured TIF revenue, the township will be paid the principal and the interest on the bonds from the captured TIF funds directly. So that eliminates the middleman and provides some protection. So then the next element of that is, in the event there isn't enough TIF revenue, as there may not be in years 1 and 2 specifically, or who knows what the housing climate is going to look like in the next 10 years. We have a side agreement with Renovari Marquette Homes that we put together in the last 10 days. And that provides that there will be a deposit of the first year interest into a separate account that will cover, which is basically a $7,000 deposit is what the first year interest is on those bonds. In the event that there are not sufficient TIF revenues to cover that bond payment. In a perfect world, that agreement never gets used, perhaps. But it is a backup that I know was a big concern for the township board to cover that. And then that continues to roll throughout the 10 years. If that funding, if that money in that account does get used, the developer has to replenish that to cover subsequent bond payments. And actually, I kind of misspoke. Although the first bond interest payment is $7,000, the first deposit will be $7,500 because that's the largest interest payment over the 10-year span. So there'll be that small cushion in there. And then once the development ensues and the TIF revenue increases, well, it should be increasingly likely that the TIF revenue that is captured will be sufficient to cover the bond, interest, and principal, but one never knows. So it covers that eventuality also. In case there isn't enough, it creates a scenario where the developer will pay that shortfall. I reviewed the fire truck contract, and that's on the agenda now. There's a very minor change to it, but in my opinion that the contract was a nullity the way it was worded. And it's a very minor change that we'll address when we get to that on the agenda item. I did draft the assistant assessor contract as well in the past couple of weeks. And there has been an inspection issue with a couple of parcels that deals with grade, the steepness of the approach in terms of what is or is not acceptable in order to get the fire trucks to the property if the development occurs. And that's both a grade issue and also a turning radius issue because some of those units have a pretty wide turning radius. I've also had some follow-up on the circuit court plat amendment suit that's pending. That's the abandonment of the alley, and that has to go through circuit court by statute. We have filed our answer on behalf of the township, and I've been in communication with the attorney that is pursuing the abandonment of the alley and the amendment of the plat, and reminded them that one of the conditions in the Planning Commission's agreement to recommend that abandonment was that it be completed within a specific time frame, and the time is ticking. So we've had that discussion. I suspect I've had other things cross my desk that are slipping my mind at the moment, but that's a few of them at least.
I might catch a few on the back end, although there's some duplicates in both of our reports, so.
Yeah, I know we've kept you busy this month, that's for sure. The month's not even over. Thanks. Any questions for Roger? Okay. Alice. Oh, I mean Andrew.
Can this be plugged in?
Yeah, I can get it there. Turn on your mic too, Andrew.
Marissa hosted the unveiling of Andrew's Alice report, and I did go to that, and I put a couple pages in, well, 3 pages in from that presentation to help the public if there are people who want to buy a new refrigerator and don't mind having a rebate. You know, you can talk to the BLP office and just a bunch of stuff in here. Who's eligible for energy assistance? That was part of it, so.
Which one is it, Andrew?
Copy of State of Alice.
Right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it.
And just tell me to advance it when you need it moved.
Some of the stuff in these packets is in here, but not all of it. So yeah, you can, the Alice report just got rolled out statewide last Wednesday. You can advance. Alice is presented last year on it. It's asset limited, income constraint employed. So it's the working class households that struggle to make ends meet on a month-to-month basis, whether it's, being able to get food, gas, medications.
For snow, move it.
All right. The Alice population is something that really the economy and communities, that's what keeps it moving. It's the clerks, waitresses, healthcare, big box store salespeople. So it's a big part of what drives the economy. And this looks at, it's usually I don't know if it gets to it. Maybe it'll get to it in a minute. But locally, Marquette County, about 68,000 people. That equates to almost 29,000 households. The median household incomes just over 66,000. That's below the state average. Labor force participation rate is just below the state average at 60%. Alice households, 26%, and then those in poverty are 17%. That's countywide data. So that puts us at a county at 43% of households struggle on a month-to-month basis. It's higher than the state. Last year we were lower than the state. So we've gone in the opposite direction. Big thing with the Alice households, the 26%, and even some of them in poverty, is that they're making too high of income to afford a lot of the programs that are out there, but still not able to make enough to afford basic living, housing, food, childcare, transportation, all of that. Shows what happens over time. You can see Alice population for households is slowly increasing. Overall poverty is relatively flat. There's some fluctuation, but Alice continues to increase over the long term. Breaking the county down, here's where we're at, and it gets cut off. Marquette Township is at 48%. Last year, we got last year's numbers too. Last year we were at 38%. For Marquette Township, looking at all of these communities, Marquette Township Alice population grew at a higher rate than any other group in the county. So I haven't really dug in to figure out why the township is growing. There's other areas that went down, but the township saw the greatest increase from 38% to 47%. So almost half our township is going to be relying on the affordable housing that we'll be talking about, and just looking for those programs that, as United Way, we focus on a lot of the programs for the Alice population. It's something that I know I've been working with some other municipalities, and something that I take into consideration a lot of, some of the decisions that we make and the county makes, and all these municipalities. It can impact these households significantly when they don't have enough money to get food or medication, or transportation to get to work on a monthly basis. An increase in any of their expenses can really increase either that 48%, it can increase that number, or it can just really hurt these households. Oops, going the wrong way. Looking at the breakdown, again, this is now back to countywide data. The senior population is seeing the greatest increase, those 65 and older. As far as those in the Alice threshold, the younger group really looking at the statewide. Michigan is now, for that younger demographic, we are the highest Alice population in the entire Midwest for the state, and our numbers for the county are higher than the state average for that demographic also. One thing that is unusual, and I haven't figured out yet, but you can see the 65 and older, we're seeing an increase statewide. They're starting to see a decrease and is now pretty close to in line with where the rest of the Midwest is. But I think it tells a lot about affordability for the community and job market for those younger households. This is the survival budget. It breaks down, if you go online to the report, you can really dig into the data and enter in your zip code and household size, and it will come up with a survival budget for you. But you can kind of see what it takes to actually make a living. This is just survival. The things that are missing, which we see on, taking one step further, the stability budget. These households here are not considered in the Alice population because they are above the threshold, but this takes into account maybe a little bit more comfortable housing with family with children. Could include a bedroom for the kids and a separate bedroom for the parents. It includes some savings, 10% savings, and some miscellaneous. So this is the budget, basic minimum budget to actually stay stable in our community in Marquette County, and hopefully maybe get ahead a little bit. And when we look at the average, you remember the original, one of the first slides, the median household income was right around 68,000, and so that you can see here that's not survival. That's not even stability. That's struggling. One of the things that we've seen over the years, and it's grown at 70%, is we all know about the consumer price index and cost of goods, but the consumer price index takes into effect or includes luxury items, and that's not what the Alice households are even thinking about. So when you take those factors out and just look at the basics, consumer price index grew at 52%, but for the basics, cost of basics over that same time period grew at 70%. So inflation is impacting these households at a much greater rate. And then just real quick, some of the things that United Way is doing, working on a lot of food, getting food to the right people at the right time, taking down the barrier of food accessibility, partly through transportation, and then our VITA program, the free tax for the Alice population, and then just shared service, being able to reduce the expense for a lot of the services being provided, taking that burden off so that they can focus on putting more resources and time towards the programs and assistance. Again, the report, which I think is somewhere in here, United for Alice / Michigan, that gives a very detailed, in-depth report to really dig into what's happening in each community, and you could spend hours answering a lot of questions and bringing up a lot more questions, but some really good information that helps me make decisions and helps, I think, a lot of municipalities do it. Last week when it was rolled out, I went down to Lansing and spoke with our representatives down there, just advocating for some of the needs and services that we have going on, and letting them be aware of what's happening in our communities.
So what was that address again? Web address?
United for Alice / Michigan.
Okay.
I thought it was in the slides. It's in that packet.
A lot of statistics. One of the, you're talking about transportation. Last week at the unveiling. So the food truck comes to the arena, let's say, and somebody needs a couple bags or a huge box of food, and they don't have a car, or their car's broken down, or the roommate's got the car, or the spouse. So how do they carry a 50-pound bag or box home, down the street, maybe a mile, maybe 6 blocks?
Yeah.
So people don't think about transportation. That stuck out when you gave your report last time.
Yeah, and it's
Nobody thinks about that.
the food distribution in Marquette, right in proper Marquette, is at the Berry Events Center, which is a great location for people that have job flexibility and transportation. But most of these jobs of the Alice population households, they don't have that job flexibility, or they may have one vehicle and multiple drivers, and they may not have access to it. So those distributions, just for Feeding America, it's usually you have to have a 3 or 4 hour time window. And even the closest homes to that distribution, a lot of people would struggle to get food from the distribution back home, because you could be looking at 2 or 3 good sized boxes. And
So you partnered with DoorDash,
yep.
with grants and partners and whatever, to get these things delivered to people have challenges.
Yeah, so now we can do free delivery of basic essentials, free delivery to anyone.
And you got, I was looking for it, the check. You had asked us to co-sign, basically, write a letter to Keweenaw Bay Indian Community, and they sent you $3,500.
Yeah.
So that's good. That'll check will be coming from Kim. We're the pass-through. You requested from us to the community, then they give us a check, we deposit it, Kim writes it to you. So you'll be getting that, just for the public's information. That's how that happens. So where do you think that'll go? Just
It'll go to either like food programs, it'll go to that VITA program to be doing taxes, these low income households. Those are the 2 big programs that need it. And, that VITA program this last year brought in about $400,000 to the low income households. And so these houses that struggle and can't make ends meet on a monthly basis, the average return this past year was just over $1,600. So
that's like a windfall.
yeah, for them it's a windfall. I mean,
Yeah.
they can go several months and not have to worry, not have that extra stress on them every day.
So you're part of the VITA program that gives them free tax returns. I mean, they can have them prepared,
Yeah.
because they don't probably know how to do it.
They don't know how to do it.
They don't have the money.
They can't afford to do it. So
Okay.
gives it the service for free. IRS trained volunteers.
And roughly half of Trowbridge falls into that pot.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I liked your slides and your comparison you went through. This is how much money you have, this is what the rent is, and the lights, and the gas, and the car gas, and the groceries this week. You get down to week 3, and the furnace goes out. You don't have any money. what do? You know, you use the credit card. And I read a statistic and I was gonna write it down and I didn't. Credit card debt is up like 50% or something nationwide, because everybody's in that same boat. They're using their cards.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah,
they
because
can't.
you can see from the budgets, there is no savings, so you can't pull from savings.
So we have to be mindful of all this when we do stuff. I think we're
Hard
pretty
decisions
frugal.
make a big impact on half the population.
Yeah. Any questions for Andrew? Okay, thanks for that. Appreciate it. Now you have to dig into it and let us know what else you find out.
Yeah.
Community linkage. I will be brief because this is becoming a long meeting. As I said to Jason, the fella across the street, or was working across the street, came over and talked, and one of the things he said I thought you'd get a kick out of is, what the heck's going on with that solid waste authority? And I looked at him and went, holy cow, he went from planning to solid waste. But anyway, we talked a half an hour. I gave him a lot of information. So I think
Somebody's paying attention.
he appreciated it, yeah. Yeah, he lives somewhere on the west end, I don't remember where. So there was no Zoom for solid waste tonight. The chair decided that they were not gonna do that tonight unilaterally. I should start making some of these decisions, you know? Just doesn't make sense. Anyway, he did, they put it on the agenda, and supervisor from Negaunee Township's gonna give me a report tomorrow. They're also, the agenda said board secretary. So they just, I just saw the obituary today in the paper for one of the board members. I didn't even know he hadn't been attending because I couldn't get to the last meeting because the Zoom wasn't working. It was working, but there was no sound. And the one before that, there was no picture. You just had the sound. So it was like listening. Anyway, so I don't know if they were just gonna reappoint or appoint somebody to be the secretary, or if they were gonna do a board appointment tonight, because that's a city spot. So, I don't know, I'll have to find that out. Let's see, they were gonna talk about composting too, and I don't know what that's gonna be about. They did just buy their second BOMAG, so that's about 2.6 million they've put into equipment that's necessary for the landfill. But they were gonna wait 5 years. Remember I told you last meeting, they were gonna do a 7-year lease and then replace the equipment every 5 years. So try doing the math on that and how long it'll take you to be pretty much in the hole, like 5 years. Marissa, yeah, I talked about that. We had a county material management meeting. The 6 of us got together. We do have that money from the state to try to figure out how to improve recycling rates and decrease the amount that's going into the landfill. And we talked for an hour and a half, and I said, okay, what did we come up with? And county planning is involved in that meeting besides the 6 of us, so they're gonna go back to the planning department and figure out what the county can recommend. The county has the money, but whether we buy carts or advertising, education, whatever, mailings, I don't know. I think that's it. I didn't get to the county board meeting last night. I was telling Fred because my grandson was pitching, and I didn't want to miss that. He did pretty well. Got some strikeouts and stuff. So I will get a report on that too. I tried seeing if the county meeting from last 2 weeks ago was on, and it's still not on the website. So I don't know how long last night's meeting will take to get on. I think that's it. So what are you hearing from anybody? Nothing? Nobody stopping you in the store, complaining, criticizing, making...
Something's being done with the roads a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Got a couple things to consider here now. Consider proposed public right-of-way abandonment of County Road 492 at Heritage Trails. Manager Kangas.
I hardly call myself an expert on this stuff, but
You're getting there.
County Road 492 was realigned multiple times, all before my time. It was sort of an S-curve coming out right by what's now Honor Credit Union. It was the old distribution center. Now it's the T intersection. The old right-of-way was never abandoned. And the only thing I can think of is the property adjoining was owned by the township. The township had water main in that right-of-way, and the gas main was also in that right-of-way. The water main's not a problem with the new site plan. At least we don't believe it is. We're gonna have to verify the cover on that water main when the final grading's done to make sure it's properly insulated, but the gas main would actually be underneath the corner of 2 of the 48 units on this property. Effectively, we advertised and sold a 5-acre parcel that's probably closer to 4.5 acres. Semco sent a bill to the developer for, it's in front of you as a supplement to the packet, almost $18,000 to move that gas main. It was missed as part of the title search. We didn't know it until the road commission notified us. Semco was not going to move that water or gas main until the developer paid it. And we talked about it internally and thought maybe it's better if the township pays it while the title company figures out what happened there. Maybe we get it all reimbursed or part of it or however it works out. We pay for it out of the $500,000 for the 5-acre parcel we sold. And then the other part of the equation is working to get that right-of-way abandoned so it actually ends up being the full 5 or 4.8 acres, whatever the actual measurement ends up being, so the 48 units that were approved can be built. As opposed to, I guess it would not be 46, it would be 45, since one of them is a duplex. You wouldn't build half of a duplex.
Correct.
So,
What do you
2
call
items.
it?
I was just gonna say that. What does it have to duplex?
It's a single-family home, is what it is. But the party wall has to be redesigned, and suddenly the equation is much different, I'm sure, and you're not gonna have one single-family home standing by its own, separated from the rest of them by a half a dozen duplexes. That's just not how the site is laid out or how you would want to. So the question before you is, first of all, do you support pursuing this right-of-way abandonment? If so, there's a form in the packet. We'll have to get 7 taxpayers of the township to sign it, and we're advised for it not to be the 7 of you, because that could maybe not appear to be very transparent. It's preferable that all of the adjoining property owners sign, but I know we have at least 2 that are out of state by a long shot, and getting them to sign timely is probably out of the question, let alone on the same piece of paper. We could probably get 2 of the adjoining property owners to sign, maybe even 3. Or maybe not directly adjoining, but at least neighboring properties. And then some other interested parties in the township that are taxpayers that want to see the full 48 units that would want to sign that. Then we send it to the road commission. If all of the neighboring properties aren't part of it, then they have to go to a public hearing. That's a 30-day notice. And they could ultimately approve it or not. The remaining issue regarding that right-of-way, of course, is the water main. The master deed that's being prepared will provide a 20-foot easement for that water main, so it doesn't have to be relocated. It can stay in its current location until we choose to move it in the future if necessary. Probably not in any of our lifetimes. We say that a lot in this room. Eventually it's going to bite one of us, but that's generally the case with this ductile iron water main. It should be pretty good. It's good sandy soils. You're not talking about a lot of movement where you have leaks happening repetitively there. So I guess that's the first question. Do you want to support this right-of-way abandonment? I think in the best interest of the development we should. And I also think we should get that gas main moved in the interest of keeping the project moving, or get back moving when all of the other paperwork, including item 8C on the agenda, gets finalized. So the recommendation is support the abandonment and approve the invoice, knowing that we're probably going to get some, if not all of that money back for the gas main relocation through the title process.
Randy?
Title insurance.
I'll make a motion to support the petition for abandonment and also authorize payment of the invoice of the gas main.
I'll support that.
Okay.
And the intention was to use the $500,000 that we just took for the sale of the parcel, but I think we're about to give that away for the $2-point-something million fire truck, so it'll be fund balance.
Question,
Yep.
do we get any idea how long it's gonna take Semco to reroute that?
I think they have it scheduled, assuming that you are going to authorize payment of this invoice. Now, does that answer your question? No, but I would assume it's gonna be in the next couple of weeks. What it does is it means they have to skip the first duplex as far as getting the footings formed and poured, once they can actually get all of their permits for that, and come back to it.
How many property owners will be affected by that shut-off for, and how long, do you think?
I don't think I'm the right person to answer that one. It is a 4-inch main, and I'm not sure what kind of looping they have in that area. I would assume anyone that gets their gas service along that original leg of 492 that pops out by Honor Credit Union. So it would be probably Honor Credit Union if they don't come off the highway. Maybe 906 Technologies, Lafayette Collision. I don't know where let's call it the Starbucks Mall, because Starbucks is how we always refer to everything over there. I'm not sure where they get their gas line from, but it's either there or on the highway too. But it would be some commercial properties for sure.
And maybe some of the homes right in that area too.
It's
On the
possible.
south side.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They may even be able to get the new main in and customers online before they abandon the old one. But there'll have to be some shutdown to do some cut and capping, which is, if it's high-density polyethylene, you're gonna have to get clean cuts and fuse parts back together. And then I'm sure they have to pressure test it, make sure there's no gas leaking underground.
Any other questions for John? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You can see by that map how that was, I was glad you put that in. It kind of does explain a little bit better where the issue is.
The right-of-way line is actually around the edge of the tree line that you see in the map, not the yellow line that I referred to.
Okay.
So it goes quite a
It's
bit
even
further. And I wouldn't be surprised if the property ends up being closer to 4 acres than 4.5 with that right-of-way removed.
That was the change in the intersection I was telling you about with the Starbucks Road when that was put in. That was the agreement. The road commission came in and said, we're gonna realign this. And Randy Gerard, how about doing the road? You know, you're gonna have the equipment already. Let's put that Starbucks road in. So it happened at the same time, somewhere around 2014 or 15. Okay. All right. B is the residential field appraiser, if Dulcie hasn't fallen asleep.
Pick up Dulcie.
So I think she's frozen.
Uh-oh.
There she is, coming. Oh,
You might want to just shut your video off, Dulcie, that might help you a little bit.
can you hear us?
And,
You have limited bandwidth, Dulcie, no video might help.
yeah.
I did turn off my video.
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thanks for zooming in, appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so our action item is to consider the agreement for the residential field appraiser. You will remember, the board will remember that we had established this position. The assessing department is basically farming out the 20% for 5 years that's required to coincide with the AMAR report that's done by the assessing department. And our current assessor, Dulcie, is saying that she will give up 20%, or pardon me, $20,000 of her contract salary with us and in her position and put it toward this extra person to go out and do that field work. It's very specific. I don't know how much detail you want. Dulcie's going to provide a list of 20%, so it's pretty much done in sections, 5 different sections in the township. The person will use their own computer, their own car, they're a contract worker, they're not an employee. She has someone who's interested in that position that she trusts and has faith in her abilities and knows of her education, that's willing to do this for $20,000. Like Roger said, he kind of tweaked the agreement, the contract. Dulcie made a suggestion, and then it took a few days to kind of go through this and get it right. This was our attempt at streamlining the department, not having to worry about dealing with cars, because now we've got, another planning person. We've got 2 vehicles. This woman will have someone to go with her. We don't have to worry about that. They'll have badges as far as identification. They can put door knockers on to let people know they were there. What else do you need to know? Dulce, what did I forget?
No, you pretty much got everything right to the point. It's just an independent review of our records as well, having another person going out and review, and it's perfect timing. So that's why I'm really supportive of it. And having the staff time dedicated by myself and Janelle to other areas frees up. I just feel it would be really good for the entire assessing department and our records, and that's why I really support this.
John?
I just want to say from a labor perspective, this is cost neutral in that the cost of the contractor, Dulcie is giving up the equivalent in her contract compensation. So from that perspective, it's cost neutral. The added cost would be the township purchasing one more Apex license for this contractor so that she can do her field sketches in the same software that we use internally.
The cost of what?
Do we know what the annual,
$600, I think.
a one-time cost and then an annual subscription fee, I'm guessing. And then the cost of 2 badges, which is probably about $20.
Seems like a fair deal to me.
Carl?
I'll make the motion that we waive the competitive bidding on this and approve the agreement for professional services for a residential field appraiser.
Support.
Okay, questions? Clear as mud? This is exciting to know that, it's not much different than what we heard from planning this morning. We've got dedicated people doing some of the, I don't want to say tedious, but time-consuming things that's, I did that in my own business. If there's somebody that's very good in something, let them do that. And if there's smaller things that take their time or are, I don't know, that are kind of above them, that's not the right way to say it either, but if somebody else can do it faster and more economically and it's more feasible, and let the specific people do their specific jobs. It just kind of makes sense.
Put the right people in the right seats on the bus.
Yes.
There you go.
Yep. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, Dulce.
Can she start tomorrow, Dulce?
Thank you, guys. Actually, we were going to, if everything went well, I was going to bring her over, arrange with you a time where we could do the meets and greets and introduce her to everybody. So whatever, Lynn, reach out to me tomorrow and we'll figure out a time that works.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks for holding on.
Thank you again.
Thanks for holding on too.
Oh, of course. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Okay. All right. And you wanted to, okay, we're not adding yet. Consider reimbursement agreement for the Heritage Trails build-up bonds.
I'll probably revert most of the detail of this conversation to legal counsel, but item 8C is the supplement that's in front of you. It's the developer covenant and agreement to pre-fund bond interest. You got the foreshadowing during the attorney's report, but this is the agreement that removes the majority of the angst in entering into this bond purchase with Build UP, making sure that taxpayers don't end up on the hook for it. The TIF already covered through the BRA, principal and interest payments if the TIF revenue covers them. This covers the upfront payment of the highest interest payment and then any shortfalls moving forward, but I'll let the attorney clarify any of those details.
That in a nutshell is it, and what I discussed in the report. So if you've got any specific questions regarding any of the provisions in it, I'll be happy to try to answer them or address them. But that's, as I mentioned, in the perfect world, this may never get used.
Short of the first $7,500 deposit.
Though even then, if you look at that projection from, that was circulated, and I know the numbers have changed a little bit, it looks like it might be within about $500 on the amount, on the TIF revenues that are captured. It's going to be potentially pretty close, so there may still not even be a need to dip into those funds in year one. We don't know that, however.
It might be a savings account for the project.
Well, and this was our main concern when we were asked to, sign on the dotted line, is to protect the township, the residents, our finances, our general fund, and not be really liable for it, just be more of a pass-through.
Can I just say one last thing?
Sure.
Getting to this point took a long time, and if you all remember Jill Ferrari saying early on, this is a very tedious process putting this funding stack together. This completes the township's portion of that funding stack through the TIF, the bond, and then the reimbursement.
I'll move to accept the developer's convent and agreement to pre-fund bond interest.
Support, and I'd like to add thank you to our attorney and Mitch for all the work they did on this to take the liability away from our taxpayers. Thank you very much.
And it was genuinely, I could show you all the emails. It's just amazing how these guys worked back and forth and questions and phone calls today. And they really, thank you for saying that, Carl, because they really did. They really did a good job. Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Is that the last step, other than the master deed that's on your side?
Well, we have the right-of-way abandonment and the master deed that are really the big ones holding up progress right now. And then a couple of issues on the water main permit. But I think, could you start seeing dirt flying again? On the sanitary sewer, yes. But I'm sure the contractor's gonna wanna see that water main permit too. And then also the Build UP bond closing, which is now June 28th or 29th, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And Build UP is satisfied with this agreement as well as far as their last requirement from us.
And
So
is
bond
the
counsel's
relative-
working on their closing documents as we speak.
Yep.
And I'm not sure if the Brownfield agreement at the county level is actually signed, but I was presented as recently as today with the most recent version of what has been approved and is ready to sign. And there's There are some minor revisions from the last one I had seen. Days are blurry, I think the end of last week, and they don't affect the township, really. Our interests are covered. The big one, again, is that the Brownfield Authority has agreed to directly make those payments from the TIF revenues to the township for the principal and interest amounts.
I'd also like to point out that Mitch was perfectly fine with that arrangement. It cuts him out as the middleman. And it takes our concern away from him taking the money and doing something else with it, which we know is not his intent, but there's no risk of that either now, so.
Good deal. Okay. We shift to D, the manager's evaluation.
Okay, so I asked the board last month to get the evaluation.
I'm not requesting closed session.
Okay. Yeah, and that was the thing, the manager had the option to go in the closed session to discuss this if so needed, and he has declined that. So, so I took everyone's evaluations, compiled them, and the manager got out of 5 a 4.67, which is above a good performance, which triggers his performance bonus. That's all I have. Unless Manager
Thank you for
Kangas
doing
has
that.
anything to say.
Sometimes it's hard if you don't have a lot of contact to know those answers, but that's okay. Some of you skipped them, so that's fine.
I appreciate the feedback. I know there's room for improvement, and I'll do my best to work on especially the low scores I received. So, go figure, communication is the biggest problem. It's not unique.
No. That's why I got on this board. That was my whole thing 18 years ago. No communication. We do pretty well, I think. I think we try hard. Any questions for John, or any questions for the board? Thank you for your service. Appreciate all your hard work.
I'll stay as long as it's mutually agreeable.
Sounds good. All right, last one, the fire truck ladder.
How about ladder truck? The ladder itself wouldn't be
Fire
2
truck
million
ladder.
plus.
Yes, I should have put it in parentheses.
Ladder's cheaper than that.
Yeah. The ladder truck.
Might be a
You-
left-handed ladder.
Do you want to explain it again, or what's your pleasure?
This is the official purchase agreement, if I remember correctly, right?
It is. And really, the only, since time was of the essence, I didn't do a red line version. The other reason I didn't do a red line version is the changes are really truly minor. On the version I received yesterday, at the top said that the purchaser was the Marquette Township Fire Department. Basically, there are 2 statutes that govern who can buy fire trucks. MCL 41.801 subsection 1 states that the township board of a township may purchase police and fire motor vehicles, apparatus, equipment, and housing for that purpose may be provided by resolution for the appropriation, etc., of funds. So basically, the statute is quite specific that it's the township board that is the customer, the client. And the Charter Township Act also provides that the township board is the body that needs to hire or terminate firefighters. If this contract is not amended, it would be a situation of revisiting from about a dozen years ago, the bus situation.
We don't want to go there.
Because the township fire department does not have authority to acquire vehicles, essentially. That's pretty clear cut, so this fixes that. On page 2, it provided for communications with strictly the fire department in the event of notices and so forth, written or otherwise. And since the purchaser will be the township, not the township fire department, I've got dual notifications in there. One, the customer being the Charter Township of Marquette, attention Township Manager, with a copy to Marquette Township Fire Department, attention Fire Chief. So there should be dual notifications, because if they were to indicate that, transmission availability has changed on the unit, the fire chief is going to be the person that's most qualified to address whether the proposed changes meet the needs of the truck and the department, whether it's going to be compatible. So it's got to go there.
On the flip
also.
side, it might be $100,000 change order, so I probably need to know so I can let you know.
So it now provides for dual notification. That would be one change, and the only other change is the signatures at the end. It had originally provided for the Township Fire Department to sign, and now it provides that the Township Supervisor will be the signatory if authorized by the board, with a concurrence by the Fire Chief indicating that he's in agreement with moving forward with the purchase. This needs to be signed at some point in order to take advantage of the upfront funding discount that was offered back when this was first approved by the board. If you ignore the contract, well, two things will happen. They probably won't build your truck, but you also won't get the discounted price, which was substantial at the time. So if you've got any questions on it, I'm happy to address it, but that in a nutshell is what it provides for. It is a roll call vote, it needs to be a resolution. And that's under MCL 41.801, subsection 1 as well.
Is that a resolution, or do we need to prepare one?
You'll need to prepare one. This is the contract.
That's what I thought you said. Okay, so Randy's got to write one up. You and Randy.
Can we approve the contract without the resolution? No.
Well, I mean, really, a resolution is a motion with a roll call vote.
Oh, doesn't have to be a written document.
That can be the resolution, actually, that
Yeah,
contract.
so that the board hereby resolves to designate the supervisor to execute the contract, and then a roll call vote, and I think that accomplishes the objective.
Well, I'll move to accept the fire truck ladder resolution agreement, and authorize the supervisor to sign.
Support.
Questions?
Will you be driving it, Lynn?
I have to find the keys, he said.
No key.
You get to them first.
Yeah.
There might not even be an ignition on these ones.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably a
Gotta have
fob,
some
maybe
kind of a,
I got a question, Lynn, are you gonna climb it?
I might, an open house, might go sit up in the seat.
100 foot?
Well, I don't know about that, but I might sit in the vehicle.
That's different
Yeah, it
than
won't be
climbing.
here, it won't be here by,
No.
I know, I watch Chicago Fire when it's
Yeah,
on. It's
yeah.
pretty amazing. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Trustee Kidda?
Yes.
Trustee Leighton?
Yes.
Treasurer Rick Howard?
Yes.
And Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0 and 1 absent.
Okay. That's a lot of business we did. Public comment.
Overall, appreciate working so far on Heritage Trails. It's been great. It didn't come up in our other conversation here, but I do want to look for a path to get this project moving forward for some paperwork that's stuck. The intent of the PUD was to be able to get things approved by the PUD, follow the master deed as we got the paperwork. We didn't kind of notice that it was going to be held up in zoning through that. I can assure you that what we are building matches the plan that we're going through for the master deed. We still may have 2 weeks on that. The other impact that this does have is the bond funding that we just approved is dependent on TIF funding. Delay of project delays TIF funding, potentially on completion dates. So In general, just looking for a path to move that forward, whether that's a special meeting or an update to the PUD. I'm not sure the correct path, but that's kind of just my question here of if we can do something with this board to get that moving forward while we're waiting on the paperwork, that'd be very much appreciated.
I think I know what you're talking about. I would not be in favor of that because it circumvents not only the planning department, but the assessing department and the county, I believe. The email was from all three. If you want to explain that a little bit more, or maybe Roger?
One of the big issues is that in order for the TIF to operate and for there to be capture, there has to be tax ID numbers, like the little 52-08- big number after that. And you can't do that without legal descriptions, and that comes from the master deed, essentially. To implement the TIF, there have to be accessible parcels, because otherwise you've only got one parcel, and that's also hand in hand with the Land Division Act requirements. You've essentially still got one parcel of property. In order to start capturing for the TIF, for the incremental, the increase in value, you have to have individual parcels for that to occur, is my understanding. I'm not an assessor, I'm not a MCAO, but that's how it's been explained to me, essentially.
Me too.
And that's one of the issues. But again, as explained to me in the from multiple calls I've made, the master deed should correct that. I was informed by an attorney in town here that she was not handling that, but it was being handled by someone from downstate, I believe.
That's correct.
Specializes in MISHDA funding projects because there are so many moving parts on MISHDA funding, not just PUDs, but because you can have MISHDA funding on things that aren't PUDs, certainly, but on these types of arrangements. And that what I was told is we should be able to see something any day, and that was Monday.
That master deed is drafted, hasn't been sent over because it's waiting on survey work. I just talked with Trimedia today, actually. Stacy was off last week. He said end of next week, maybe the week after. By the time we have survey work, then we need to record it. So if there's any assurance that we're moving forward as planned, that we have paperwork that we can share in that, and we have all the line work and everything. So I mean, that's kind of where we're sitting here, is, one or the other.
And then even from the utilities, namely the water and the sewer, that will be funded by the bond revenue, there has to be assurance, of course, that we have easements.
Correct.
For where those, eventually we'll get a bill of sale. If they're completed to our satisfaction, we will own that plumbing. But in the meantime, we can't be building things on private property with public money. So we need those easements so that we have the right to claim that. And furthermore, the practical side of it is, we need to know, everybody needs to know, that the utilities are being constructed within the easement rights of way, and for that matter, that the respective foundations for the housing units are within the boundaries of the respective parcels. And again, as explained to me, that comes from the master deed. So the master deed solves all of those problems as far as I understand.
That's the way I understand it too. Does the deed have to be recorded to have this happen, or do we just have to have like a draft or the document?
Well, it needs to be executed.
Okay,
And then recording it is a matter of walking it down to the Register of Deeds office, and there's a $30 fee
right.
to pay.
But that has to happen before
It needs to be
parcel numbers
executed,
can be,
yes.
yeah.
because it's just like a deed. If you buy a house, you certainly want to have a signature on the deed for it.
Okay, Don?
I believe, in the interest of keeping this moving, we could have everything else reviewed and approved without the survey work. The survey work is gonna be easy to verify once it's done, because all of the descriptions are on the PUD plan set. They're just not described individually. I could go on there with typical surveying tools to figure them out. That's just not our job. It's to provide that survey layer on its own on a master survey plan that the surveyor has to sign off with all of their standard language. My opinion is it shouldn't take too long, but I don't do the job of a surveyor every day, so I shouldn't judge what the effort is on that. And I don't know what the surveyor's schedule looks like either.
So, Mitch, are you asking what you're asking for? See, it's two different things here. I understand what Roger said about the TIF funding, and you gotta get all the i's dotted and t's crossed. But in order for him to get a foundation inspection, he needs to have a zoning permit in hand to be able to get a building permit in hand. And while that's happening, he could be building while we're waiting for all the i's dotted and t's to be crossed. Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm asking, because we're just waiting on zoning. In fact, we paid all the permit fees to the county already for our permits.
Yeah, so what's your opinion on that? I don't see a problem with that, because eventually it's all gonna be done, but while all this paperwork is being done, he's at a dead standstill.
So what the county is saying, and the assessor and treasury, is in order to move forward with the zoning side of it, we need a master deed recorded with $30 or whatever at the county. Then parcel numbers can be established for the 48 units. Then the next step can happen. And if I'm not mistaken, he's asking us to do these things without the master deed finalized.
Or a conditional approval of those zoning permits. There'd be another probably legal way to allow that, I would presume.
That I don't know. I just know
Yeah,
that those three entities said, no,
Yep.
we're not moving forward. Jason said no, Dulcie said no. County, I don't know if that's Jackie Solomon, Treasury.
It's CAM, equalization.
Cam sent a pretty strong email back saying he was not holding up the process. So.
He expressed his opinions on what should happen.
And it seems like, and I understand, we're asking for maybe a little more work. It does seem to me that doing it this way creates more work on the back end. And that is maybe what some of that pushback is that's just my opinion from reading some of the pushback. Especially on the assessing side and the permitting side, right? Because if you attach a permit to a parent parcel, now all the parent parcel, just the way the BSNA works, it's attached to a parent parcel, it gets a little bit messy until the parcel numbers are created. Now, someone could go in there and create the parcel numbers from everything that we've created, because parcel numbers aren't exactly tied to those things. The risk is then if the master deed's not recorded, the parcel numbers aren't correct. So it's definitely a database issue, I think, as well.
It's a chicken egg thing again. It's kind of the endless routine on this project because of how complicated it is to get to this point.
And how fast we're trying to move once we're engaged here. We had executed that PUD with the understanding that, hey, we're gonna get this master deed recorded before the infrastructure's installed. We followed that schedule, didn't realize there was gonna be a zoning compliance issue that really, put us at a standstill.
My fear is the permits are all gonna come at the same time and we go from a dead site to everyone tripping on each other, unfortunately.
I don't have a problem doing paperwork in the interim if there's something else we can approve, but my understanding from Dulcie is that in order to generate, it's not just generating numbers, 48 numbers, it's putting the specifications in for each one. And then, when she was explaining it, I envisioned sewing. You're cutting, and if you don't have the exact measurements, all of a sudden, when you get to parcel 47, you're off if you don't have the exact measurements, and that's what the master deeds provides. That's
Those
the way
corners
I was
are already
explained.
staked in the field for the lots that are graded for footings.
The
Lenny and I
specifications.
confirmed that in the field yesterday. So the survey is there, it's just not in the form to be recorded. That's the issue.
So that's what I was wondering, if we could move forward if we had a draft.
I honestly think there's been so much back and forth with so many people. We need all those people in the same room
Sounds like
to
that.
determine if there's a legal way to do it or not. Otherwise, it's, by the time the third person hears it, it's hearsay.
That's why this board can't make that decision, not yet.
I don't think
we
I
have
can
enough
give you good enough information to make a recommendation. Everybody wants to see these houses going up. And right now, it's dust blowing around, unfortunately.
And I've had people asking me too, why is it a standstill? I just said paperwork, which
Yep.
is just a good general answer. If you want to try to put something together and bring everybody in to the same room and figure it out.
Absolutely. we
The rest
do.
of those documents, if they're available to be reviewing, I think it's important to get them reviewed. Short of not having the survey.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that.
Get that going, and then if we have to have a special meeting for some reason, we can. We're all available. We wanna see it
It
work.
doesn't sound like it's us as much as it is the county.
Right, yeah, no,
And
that's
because
true.
the county is an absolute stickler when it comes to getting a permit, and you have to have that tax ID number on it.
They don't care.
But they can attach it to a parent parcel.
Yeah.
I mean, I pointed out one that happens to be going on Lake Enchantment where that's the case. There's 5 parcels or something like that, and all the permits got attached to the parent. And that was I think that was just a simple land division act versus a PUD, but, I mean, there's definitely ways to get it done.
Well, I think if we can help you, Mitch, we will. If not, we'll just have to, we're, 2 weeks away from July 1, so.
And then 4 days after that, Jason will have his stuff done, so we're looking at like 3 weeks
The
till.
frustration is then the person that has to check it is on vacation. and
Yeah.
gets kicked out of the road.
Right.
Yep.
Well, we'll do what we can for you, Mitch, but I don't think we can override the county in this situation, unfortunately.
Not right now, anyway, not based on what we're hearing.
Yeah, and I'm not even sure that it's the county. I think it's the process and following the
It
law.
could be the process of not throwing the county in.
It's bureaucracy is what it is.
Yeah.
Well, we
Based
have
on
our-
what's written in the law and then the subsequent rules that are written as a,
And each one of those departments, whether it's planning or assessing or the county, or inspections, codes, they all have their own rules. So if we can help with that, I don't have a problem with that.
yeah, I don't think building codes is the problem. Jason just can't issue zoning compliance for Mitch to go to building codes to get his permits.
I mean, Roger probably has better detail on it, but I think the concern is the way the PUD is written and what is allowable there, and zoning code that we have in Marquette Township. We don't have enough power in the PUD to override it, and there's enough power in zoning code to say can't be issued until the master deed, but I'm not really, that's why I had my attorney work with him, because I don't fully understand that.
Nor do I.
Nor do I.
I've just gone by what I was told.
Yep. So I guess the best thing we can do here is who else do we need in the room to make a decision to move forward?
We'll try to figure that out starting tomorrow morning.
Works for me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
Yep. Appreciate it, guys.
Any other public comment?
Rob Stead, 1420 Cox Avenue. Tonight, just want to speak again to urge residents to think carefully before we support another tax increase this fall. The recently released ALICE data that Andrew presented us tonight shows that Marquette Township has the highest financial stress rates in the county, with 48% of households either in poverty or ALICE. So we're working, but we're still struggling to make ends meet. The proposed EMS millage may sound small at 1 mil, but it would be increase to the fire-related tax burden from 3.4 mils to 4.4 mils, which is about a 29% increase. For non-homestead property, it's going to increase the total taxes by about 2%, and those costs are going to get passed along through rent, leases, and also goods and services. Emergency services matter, but affordability matters too. When nearly half of township residents are already financially strained, residents deserve a full understanding of the long-term cost, whether this is 1 year only for a millage or it's going to be moved into Public Act 33, and whether less expensive alternatives have fully been considered. So for those reasons, I don't believe now is the time to have this pass, or if it does pass, to actually implement it. Speaking on the fire truck, $2.1 million for a fire truck is a lot of money. It's a 30-year fire truck is what we're hoping for, but that is $1,500 a week for a truck that leaves on Mondays for a half an hour in order to do a test, and maybe 2 or 3 times a month. While we do need a ladder truck, I'm not sure that we needed a 100-foot ladder truck. This one's got some constraints that we spoke about already today, where it's going to make travel throughout the township a little more difficult with the larger truck. I believe we're in it now, and I think we have to do it, but I think a little more consideration should have been put in whether or not we need to duplicate something that the city has and Negaunee City has, or if we could have gotten by with a 75-foot, which would probably cost $500,000 less. And then just to speak on what Mitch was speaking about, the National Association of Home Builders, I believe it was, this week released a statistic that bureaucracy and all these cogs that are moving around create a $130,000 burden on each home that is being built. And this is just evidence of it here today, not any fault of the board, but just all these different cogs that are working against each other rather than working together. And having a company that wants to build 48 homes sitting in our room here with people that can't do the work is just really sad to see. So I know we can't do anything about that at this level, and I know what we can do, we're trying to do, but something needs to be done about that as well. That's all I got for you. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob.
And that was on a $500,000 home. 130 of it is due to.
Yeah, I don't remember the math. 29–30% is just bureaucracy.
Super high.
I sent you a survey today that came out from QPAD. I sent it to everybody because they said share it. That was exactly one of my answers on the bottom. It said, what's your overall solution, or how do you feel we could fix this? That's exactly what I said. It's too difficult for developers to come in and do anything in a community. There's just too many rules and restrictions, and when you start adding any kind of grants or low interest loans from the state or the feds, it's just even worse.
We have a plan, we've all approved the plan, we all agree with the plan, but we still can't move forward. Sad.
Yep, we'll get there.
We will.
Any other public comment? Okay. Any announcements? That's usually your corner, Randy.
Yep, I got a notice today. I think my ballots will be here tomorrow, and I'll have my assistant work on trying to get them out by the end of next week. So we got about 1,000 absentee ballots to prepare and get sent out. So we'll do our best to get them out. We have to get them out by 40 days before the election. So we'll try to do that, get those out. So that's all I have.
Anything else? Okay, Mr. Manager, what are you gonna share?
Everyone tired yet? This week I authorized some roof repairs here at Township Hall. We've got a couple of rooftop HVAC units that have work platforms up there that have posts that go through the roof for structural support. We had some leaks that caused some roof decking damage. And then, of course, to do some temporary repairs, we had to seal up the shingles around those penetrations. And really what happened is the boots failed. We didn't catch it on time. So we've got some repairs to do around both of those rooftop units. It's within my spending authority. I authorized it. We'll get you updates. You'll see the invoices coming. We're going to have Hall spearhead that work with a roofing subcontractor and then a painting and drywall contractor to repair the insides. Not ideal on a 10-year-old building, but that's all part of building maintenance, unfortunately. So, wanted you to be aware of that. Heritage Trails, we've talked about plenty tonight. There's still a couple of things that we have to deal with. The right-of-way abandonment, the master deed and survey. The good news is the reimbursement on the bonds, that's done now, short of signing the documents. And if we have a clean document here tonight, it might be a good idea to get Mitch's signature that he's verbally committed to already. I think I've got one right here. We might be able to get all the signatures all before we leave. So there's a spot for the supervisor and clerk as well.
Good deal.
Swag, that's been on my reminder list. If you're interested, we've got some, their fleece jackets and vests over on the other side. If you want to find out your size, it would have the township logo, and I'm thinking we'd probably put your name on it, and then whatever your title is, trustee, supervisor, treasurer, clerk. I'm not sure what the interest is in that, but there was interest, so we got, thanks to Brenda for helping us get that going. Commerce Drive, thanks again to the DDA and Road Commission for the paving that's already done. And then the work that's now currently gravel was done by Baco. That'll get paved next week. That's part of the Section 19 funding from the rapid snow melt 2-3 years ago. Again, you add that extra layer of funding level and you add several years to the project. Rob's heard me say it, Lynn, at DDA meetings, anytime you get a grant, add 5 years. Speaking of which, that project was bid out. Bids came in last Friday. It was over budget, and I think it was it about 18,000? 15,000 extra the DDA committed to continue that project forward. Thank you to Alex at the Road Commission. He reached out to the TAP group that's providing the grant, and they agreed to fund 70% of the over budget part too for the participating costs, so that limited the increased cost to the DDA. And I think we all know why it was more. It's because it took 5 years to get there. Added the grant and it costed more money, unfortunately. Lions Field Pickleball, Dean is here today. He's got some concerns about the sound barrier we put up there, and call it sound barrier, call it what you want. It's an attempt to reduce the impact of the noise out there, right? And he's right. When there's 4 courts of 4 people playing pickleball at once, it's noisy. We were directed by the board to purchase, at the recommendation of the rec committee, those sound panels. I believe most of them are up now, if not all. You have a conflicting request from the property owner directly north of the court asking not to put them up because they like to watch. Dean's concern is it blocks his whole view. It's like putting I think his words were put a blanket over his head, something like that, to that effect. I get it. It blocks his view on one side of his property. I don't know that we're at a final answer there yet, but until we get them all up and see what it does to the noise, we can't really tell. We've got our own decibel meter on the way. Dean's got his own. He's done some measurements already. We'd like to compare them, see if it does any good or not. Beyond that, we may not be at our final solution yet unless somehow we got the noise reduced to within our ordinance. Chip sealing started this week, today, on Vandenboom, Moran, Werner, and Miski. And I'm not sure how far they got because I hadn't been out since around lunchtime, but they're moving pretty quick. I know of at least one report where somebody drove through the tar and they were looking for help getting it off, and I sent them to the road commission, and he acknowledges he made a bad turn and it wasn't marked properly or people didn't catch him before he did it, but sending them to the road commission. They are doing the work, and I thought they had adequate controllers at each intersection, but somehow this one vehicle snuck through. Last but not least, I want to say thank you to Kim, who has spent countless hours providing our new auditing firm all of the information they're looking for. And I can tell you, when you switch auditors, the amount of work probably quadruples the first time because they're brand new. They don't have those multiple years of experience from prior audits, and they asked a lot of questions that we hadn't really had to answer before because they were probably answered in prior audits. So thank you, Kim. That was a lot of work. I was actually surprised today that she was getting to some back burner things. I said, oh, audit must be done for now, but we should get that by the end of the month.
Gonna be filed by the end of the month.
So hopefully that'll be good news.
And you can come up for air.
It's getting back to all the things that were backlogged during her audit response prep. And thanks to any of you that may have provided a response if you were asked to. I know a lot of times you may not even know the answers because it's your staff that implements the policy, and the policy may have been in place before you even came. Or it's one of those minutia details that you're not familiar with on a daily basis, but it matters. It's all about transparency with the taxpayers' money to the taxpayers, right? Independent auditor is verifying we're doing the right things with the money. And my engineering way of saying that is making sure the beans are all in the right places. That's all I've got.
Any questions for John?
I wouldn't imagine you had any time to talk about that story walk anymore with the week you had, a couple of weeks you had.
What was the subject again?
That story walk. And only
I have not.
That up, I was thinking about it after I left the last meeting, and we have so many businesses right in front of it and all around it, that it would be a piece of cake if the legwork was done to get sponsors to sponsor a page. It really would be easy, so you gotta get the infrastructure done.
As long as there's a body available to do the legwork.
Right.
And that's the challenge right now. Even with adding part-time staff the way we are, for some reason this year seems like it's even busier than a normal year. Maybe it's because everything hit us all at once with spring kind of coming late, right, due to the long winter. We'll come up for air here soon, and we'll try to remember to get into that, but keep poking me on it.
Linda will. She wants to do it.
I think it's a great idea.
Excuse me.
If we can figure out how to pay for it. I do want to put a little bit of a break on the spending for the year, though. I feel like we've probably spent enough.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Any other questions for John? Okay. Mr. Clerk?
First motion was to approve the consent agenda as presented, and that was approved. The second motion was to approve the regular agenda as amended. We added the manager's compilation, and we added the fire truck resolution ladder agreement for purchase. That was approved by roll call vote. And that that was approved by regular vote. The resolution was approved by roll call vote, which we'll get to in a minute. Let's see. Third motion was to approve the proposed right-of-way abandonment on County Road 492, and that was approved. Fourth motion was to approve the agreement for the residential field appraiser, that was approved. The fifth motion was to approve the Heritage Trails UP bonds agreement, that was approved. Sixth motion was to approve the fire truck ladder agreement resolution, and that was approved by roll call vote. And that's it.
That's it. Okay, so we know we're gonna talk about the library millage, talk about spending money in the next agenda, that, the millage and,
Well, it's just a pass-through, but.
yeah.
But that's, the library millage will be the resolution and the ballot language that will go to the November ballot. So I usually try to get it done early so we don't get caught not getting it in, and then it doesn't get on the ballot, then there's all sorts of problems, so.
Okay, so that meeting will be July 1st. Any board member comment? Nothing to share? Okay, we can go home then.
I make a motion that we do go home.
Support.
Second.
Oh, lots of support. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. It's 7:47.